You know, some soldiers earn a nickname, and then there are others who become one. Today, we're telling the unbelievable story of a man they called the walking grenade. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's January 8th, 1945. We're near Kaisersberg, France, and the men of Company I are completely pinned down in snow that's up to their knees. It is brutally cold, 12 degrees Fahrenheit, and above them, the sky is just being ripped apart by German machine guns. For these 120 guys, it really looks like there's no way out.
I mean, really think about it. Put yourself in their boots for a second. You've got artillery raining down behind you, a hailstorm of machine gun fire coming from above, and your only path forward is straight up a frozen hill, right into the guns that have you perfectly zeroed in. What do you even do in a situation like that?
To really get why this was so bad, you have to understand the terrain. These American soldiers had walked straight into what can only be described as a tactical nightmare. The Germans had everything going for them. They were dug in on this steep 40-degree slope covered in snow, which gave them perfect, crystal-clear sightlines on every single American soldier down below. And against that pure white snow, the dark American uniforms might as well have been bullseyes.
So the main threat was coming from 3 machine gun nests, reinforced with timber. And these things weren't just slapped down anywhere. They were strategically placed to create what they call interlocking fields of fire. Basically, there was no safe approach. No matter which way you moved, you were in the sights of at least one of those guns.
And we're not talking about just any machine guns. These were MG-42s, nicknamed Hitler's buzzsaw for a reason. Each one could fire up to 1,200 rounds a minute. So you do the math, that's a potential 3,600 bullets flying down that hill every 60 seconds. It's not just gunfire, it's a literal wall of flying metal. This was the absolute definition of a trap, a killing box. If they stayed put, German artillery would just walk their shells right onto them. If they tried to run back across the open ground they'd just come from, they'd be mowed down. The only path left was the one that looked like pure suicide, straight up that hill. With his entire company about to be wiped out, one man looked at that impossible path and decided it was the only one worth taking. His name was Technical Sergeant Russell Dunham. So here's what Dunham did. He grabbed a white mattress cover to use as camouflage. Smart. Then he just started loading up on ammo. He stuffed 12 30-round magazines into every pocket he had. He hooked more than a dozen grenades onto his belt, his suspenders, anywhere they'd fit. When he finally stood up, he was lugging 72 pounds of pure firepower. He literally was a walking grenade before he'd even taken a single step. What happened next is just insane. He charges the first nest and gets hit immediately. The force of the bullet throws him 15 yards back down the hill. But he just gets back up, charges again, empties a full magazine, and takes out the nest. Already bleeding badly, he starts crawling 50 yards to the second nest and takes it out with grenades. For the third and final one, he actually times his charge between the machine gun bursts to get close enough to destroy it. It was a one-man wrecking crew. And that wound he took right at the start, it was horrific. We're talking about a 10-inch gash across his back, so deep that the medics could see exposed bone. That bullet missed his spine, missed paralyzing him for life, by less than 2 inches. And he fought through that unbelievable pain for the entire rest of the assault. Now you'd think, okay, that has to be the end of the story, right? Hero takes out 3 machine gun nests, saves his company, survives a catastrophic wound. But for Russell Dunham, his war was about to get a whole lot worse. Unbelievably, Dunham should have been in a hospital for weeks, but he went back to his unit after just 10 days because they were short on men. The guy had 43 stitches holding his back together. And right after he gets back, his company gets overrun by German tanks. The order comes down to surrender. But Dunham, he was not about to become a POW. He slipped out the back of a farmhouse and just ran. He finds a hiding spot in a storage building, a giant wooden barrel full of sauerkraut. So he climbs in, submerges himself completely in the fermented cabbage, and pulls the lid over his head. Now imagine the acidic, salty brine from that sauerkraut soaking through his uniform and seeping directly into that fresh 43-stitch wound. He said the pain was like having acid poured on him. And he just stayed there. German soldiers were searching the building, even kicking the barrels right around him, and he just stayed under. He put up with the suffocating smell, the freezing cold, and that searing pain for 13 straight hours, until he was sure they were gone. But his day wasn't over yet. The second he climbs out of that barrel, he gets captured by 2 German soldiers. But they make a huge mistake. They get distracted arguing over his pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes, and they never find the M1911 pistol he had hidden under his arm. Dunham used it to get away and then started a grueling 30-mile trek through enemy territory, all while battling severe frostbite and a now badly infected wound.
After 3 agonizing days, he finally made it back to American lines. And by that point, the story of what he did on Hill 616, well, it had already become the stuff of legend. When he was being awarded the Medal of Honor, Lieutenant General Alexander Patch, the commander of the entire 7th Army, said this. This wasn't part of the official paperwork. This was just the general being absolutely floored by what this one man had done. A single soldier, changing the outcome for everyone just because he refused to quit. And that's really the heart of it. The nation's highest award for valor wasn't just for being brave, it was for what his bravery accomplished. Without that one-man assault, the 120 men of Company I trapped in that killing box would almost certainly have been wiped out. So what happens to a larger-than-life hero like this after the war? Well, he returned home to Illinois and lived a pretty quiet life. He worked for 32 years as a benefits counselor for the VA, helping other veterans. He almost never talked about the war, always insisting he was just doing his job. And that really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. When you think about Russell Dunham's story, what was the more courageous act? Was it that furious 10-minute charge up Hill 616? Or was it the 13 agonizing hours he spent just enduring the pain in that barrel of sauerkraut? His story is incredible because it shows us that sometimes real heroism is found in the explosion, and sometimes it's found in the quiet, agonizing silence that comes after.